Jo, and today I'd like to tell you about a trip I took 10 years ago to the island nation of Vanuatu when I was working on this boat. My job was as a sailor and a teacher and a cleaner. I started the job in New Zealand, and we sailed from New Zealand to Fiji, which is here, and then we took a couple of days to sail from Fiji to the most southerly island in the island chain of Vanuatu. We first went to the island of Aneityum, and we anchored in a small bay in the south. We anchored in this bay, and then when you arrive in a new country by boat, you're not allowed to go onto land until customs and immigration have been with you. On the island of Aneityum, customs and immigration used this boat. Colin, the man from customs and immigration, paddled over to us in this canoe, and we did the paperwork, and then we were allowed to go ashore. In Vanuatu, there are over 100 different languages. One of the main languages is called Bislama, and this sign is written in Bislama. I'm sure you can understand it if you look closely. The day after we arrived was a special day on the island because their new police station was about to open. Lots of police came from different islands using boats. For the opening of the police station, there were lots of speeches, lots of ceremonies. It was very hot, and then the national flag was raised. Afterwards, it was more relaxing. This is a photograph of a very important drink in Vanuatu. The drink is called Kava, and it's made from the root of a plant. This is the Kava plant, and the drink is made by grinding it up and adding water. After the police station was opened, we were invited to drink Kava with these people. These men are preparing the Kava by grinding it. This is our customs and immigration man, Colin, who invited us to the Nakamal. Nakamal is the place where you drink Kava. And it's quite a sacred drink, and there are special things that you have to do when you're drinking it and ways that you have to behave. Here was Colin with me and my boss toasting us for our first ever shell of Kava from Vanuatu. They wanted to see how we would react. You have to drink it all in one go, and then it's quite a strong drink. I've had it in Fiji before. It's not as strong in Fiji. In Vanuatu, it made us feel quite different, I must say. After a few days in Aneityum, we sailed north to the island of Tanna. The reason we went to Tanna is because of the volcano, Mount Yasur. Mount Yasur is a very active volcano that sits in the middle of the island, and it's possible to drive in a very uncomfortable four-wheel drive almost right to the top of the volcano, and then you can just walk along the edge of the crater. When we visited, it was not at its most active, but there are lots of times when the volcano is closed because it's too dangerous. This is a photo of us when we arrived at the volcano, walking along the edge of the crater. You can see all these black lumps. They are rocks and lava that have been spat out by the volcano. We were told that if we see anything flying up into the air over our heads, we had to look up and run with our eyes fixed on whatever it was flying through the sky towards us. When we arrived at the top and we could look into the crater, I had this amazing view of the molten lava being spat out, and it was loud and you could smell sulfur, and it was absolutely incredible. I'd never seen anything like it before in my life. Then night fell, and it was even more incredible. I've got a lot of photographs showing things like this. We sat for hours just watching this show. We were very lucky that the volcano behaved beautifully and safely while we were there. From the island of Tanna, we sailed further north to the island of Efate. The capital of Vanuatu is Port Vila. This is the capital city, and we anchored here and wandered round. In Port Vila, I met with an old friend who lives on this beautiful old wooden schooner, and we decided to go on a land trip together. We visited the market in Port Vila. This is taro, which is one of the staple crops which they eat a lot of and grow a lot of in Vanuatu. And also in the market, there are lots of beautiful flowers. So we packed up my friend's scooter to go camping. You can see how well packed it was. It was quite an adventure. And we went off up north. So we drove north along the coast road for a couple of hours, looking for a place where we could set up camp by the beach. It was hot, but on the back of the bike, it was drafty. There's me. Yes, I was very happy. I loved the scooter ride. We drove past a lot of coconut plantations. You can tell these are plantations rather than natural because of the way the trees are lined up. And we arrived at this beautiful beach, which we chose as a nice place to stay. I think you can understand why. We built a camp underneath this shelter. So we're in the tropics, but it can rain heavily at any time. And also there's a lot of mosquitoes, so we did need protection. The next day, we went for coffee in a resort for breakfast. And I met this bird who lives in the cafe. And I fell a bit in love with him. And he was so friendly to me. There's my coffee. And that's looking out onto the beach again. That evening, we returned. And yes, I had more coffee. And yes, my little friend who I fell a bit in love with returned. And he wanted to drink the end of my coffee. And who was I to say no? He stole part of my heart. Thank you so much for joining me on my trip to Vanuatu with all the beautiful colours of volcanoes and birds, and I'm looking forward to seeing you for my next trip. Bye!